Have you ever had one of those moments where time just seems to melt away? You're so locked into what you're doing that the entire world just disappears. That feeling, that's being in the zone. Today, we're going to break down the science behind this incredible state of mind and, more importantly, how you can tap into it way more often.
Seriously, take a second and think about it. When was the last time this happened to you? Maybe you were playing guitar, or deep into a coding project, maybe painting, or hey, maybe it was just a really, really great conversation. That experience where hours feel like minutes. That's exactly what we're diving into.
So first up, let's kind of set the scene and talk about what it means to be lost in the moment.
I mean, it's the classic modern problem, isn't it? Our phones are buzzing, we have a million tabs open, our attention is always being pulled somewhere else. And usually this leaves us feeling one of two ways. Either totally overwhelmed by a to-do list that feels way too hard, which, hello, anxiety, or we're completely underwhelmed and disengaged, which leads straight to boredom.
But then there are those other moments, those magical times where all that noise just fades away. You're not anxious, you're not bored, you are perfectly, completely engaged. And the weird thing is, it feels effortless, even though you're probably performing at your absolute best. This is that sweet spot, that optimal experience we're all searching for. So what do we call this state scientifically speaking? Well, let's put a name to the feeling. What exactly is flow theory? The official term is flow, and it was coined by the brilliant psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Now, this isn't just about focus, it's an energized focus. You are all in, and you're actually enjoying the process itself. And what's really cool is what's happening inside your brain. Your prefrontal cortex, which is basically your inner critic, it literally quiets down. Neurologists call this transient hypofrontality. In simple terms, your self-doubt takes a nap, which frees up a ton of mental energy for the task at hand.
And this quote from the man himself just nails it. His research showed that our peak moments in life don't come from just kicking back and relaxing, binging a TV show. They happen when we choose to stretch ourselves, to push our mind or our body to do something that's both difficult and meaningful to us.
Okay, so that's the what. But what about the how? How do we actually make this happen more often? That brings us to the most useful part of all this, the conditions for flow.
It all boils down to this incredible balancing act between challenge and skill. Think about it. If a task is way too hard for your current abilities, you're going to feel stressed out and anxious. But if it's way too easy, you'll just get bored and zone out. Flow. Well, flow lives right in the middle of those two.
The magic happens right here, in what's called the flow channel. This is where the challenge is high enough to keep you completely engaged, making you stretch your skills, but it's not so hard that it feels overwhelming or impossible. A perfect analogy is a video game on the right difficulty setting. That's the flow channel.
And beyond that perfect balance, there are 4 other key ingredients to the recipe. First, you need clear goals. You know exactly what to do next. Second, you need immediate feedback. A musician hears the note as soon as they play it. A rock climber feels if your grip is solid. Third, the task demands your full, intense concentration. And fourth, you feel a sense of control, a confidence that you can handle the task.
All right, so let's say you've got all the conditions right. You've found that flow channel. What does it actually feel like from the inside? Let's take a look.
These are the classic signs. First, time gets weird. That's the big one everyone talks about. You also lose that nagging voice in your head. There's a total loss of self-consciousness. That's that brain science we talked about in action. Your actions and your awareness of them just become one fluid motion. And finally, the activity becomes what's called autotelic, which is just a fancy way of saying it's its own reward. You're doing it for the pure joy of doing it, not for some external prize.
So where are people actually finding flow? Well, this data might honestly surprise you. Over half of all reported flow states happen at work. This totally flies in the face of the idea that work is just a grind. But why? Well, a well-designed job often has all the ingredients built right in: clear goals, instant feedback, and a challenge that matches your skill level. It just goes to show you that deep satisfaction isn't something you have to wait for vacation to find. We can actually build it into our everyday lives.
So here's the kicker. This isn't just about feeling good for a couple of hours. Actively seeking out flow can have some really profound long-term effects on your life. And that brings us to our final and maybe most important section: why flow matters.
The benefits here are huge. People who experience flow regularly report being happier and more satisfied with their lives overall. And because you're always operating right at the edge of your abilities, in that perfect flow channel, you're basically in the most efficient learning state you can be in.
Your skills improve almost as a byproduct of having fun. And ultimately, when you fill your life with these kinds of deeply engaging, meaningful experiences, you start to build a life that feels genuinely full of purpose.
And so that brings the question back to you. Now that you know the recipe, that perfect balance of challenge and skill, the clear goals, the immediate feedback, think about your own life, your job, your hobbies, your passions. Where is the potential for flow just waiting to be unlocked? Where will you find yours?